hockey. Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And with that, welcome into Judd's Hockey Show, an unplanned version here, Judd and AJ, because while at the State Fair today, working on various other things, we got the breaking news, I guess it's breaking, that Marco Rossi has agreed to a contract 3 times 5, so 3 years at $15 million total with the Wild. There will be no holdout. I guess the shenanigans, the angst is gone. We'll talk about all of that. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about one of my favorite restaurants, and that is Parlor Bar. I've been talking to you about the one that is down the street on West 7th from the X, which is now going to be Grand Casino Arena. There's one in the North Loop. Well, now there's one in Excelsior as well. So if you are out on the boat for a day, absolutely a great day to be out there, and you're looking for something to do afterwards, a good dinner or perhaps some good craft cocktails or a great beer, well, then Parlor Bar is the place to check out. Again, 3 locations, North Loop, Excelsior now, and also West 7th Street in St. Paul, right down the street from the arena. All right, Age, let's get to it. So we've talked about this throughout the offseason. There was speculation about would Marco Rossi be traded. There was speculation about the angst from him being demoted to the 4th line. We'll get to that as well in the playoffs. There was an offer, I think it was in June, that was rejected, 5 times 5 from the Wild. Well, when it's all said and done, Bill Guerin in a conference call today, a video call, told reporters that about a month or so ago, the Rossi camp agents re-engaged the Wild and that they did this bridge contract. So again, 3 years, $15 million. Both the Wild, Bill Guerin, and Marco Rossi did video calls. Seems like all is forgiven. We were actually told that Marco Rossi, Age, I know you're going to be shocked by this, but the Marco Rossi angst about him going to the 4th line, according to Bill Guerin, was media-driven. There was no problem internally. Of course, Rossi essentially said that there was a problem internally, had a long talk with John Hines at the end of the season. So this gets done without a holdout. Your thoughts on Rossi returning through the 27-28 season? And if I'm not mistaken, he's 23 years old right now, so he could hit the market in a very good position if he can capitalize.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I would say I am thrilled about this, mainly because now you're avoiding the holdout. I assumed they were going to stick with him from the get-go just because I think we kind of knew back when they were shopping him around that they just weren't really getting the offers that they felt. Mm-hmm. And I do think that you don't want to move on from a guy like this. I think he's showing a lot of potential. He was your 3rd highest scorer last season for a reason. Despite what you think of the demotion in the playoffs and what they maybe wanted to do gameplay wise, we know how vital he was to that top 6 in this Wild team last season. I think $5 million is a very good, maybe deal's not the right word, but it's a good agreement because it's 3 years. That's something you can work around. And now I think this very much opens the way for what do you want to do with Kirill Kaprizov here before you really get back into training camp and everything like that. But it was something that I think myself and maybe some other Wild fans who like Rossi kind of just came to the grips of, you're going to not have him on your team come opening night. But as the summer went on, it felt like there's not a lot that was going to change to where the Wild suddenly get that offer that they really want. So I am happy personally that he's back. I think he now, not to do the intangible cliche thing, but he's going to have a massive chip on his shoulder and he's going to want to say, yeah, you're going to wish. I want to give you nightmares about not signing me to more than 3 years. So good on the Wild, good on Marco Rossi for pushing some things aside, coming together and agreeing on this 3-year deal.
So a couple of things. I'm seeing some comments, rightfully so, about Kirill Kaprizov now because he's eligible for contract extension, has a year left. So, but of course, if we get to opening night and he's not signed, it's going to become a circus. But the expectation, I think, will be that guys like McDavid and Kaprizov sign right before training camp starts. And those contracts would then kick in with the 26-27 season. Joe Smith of The Athletic did ask Bill Guerin about the Kaprizov for an update. And he said, quote, I'm not sharing anything on him right now. So we don't know where things stand. I don't know, is Kirill back here? I don't know he's back yet. He's probably not back yet.
I don't believe he is.
There's been talk about the fact that it's going to take till he gets back so this can be discussed so they can sit down. I don't know. But if you were hoping for a Kirill Kaprizov update, I can tell you unequivocally we did not get one today. Back on Rossi, it's interesting. A couple of things. I don't follow him, but in Joe Smith's piece, he pointed out that on probably his Instagram, Marco Rossi has been going through his workout or his showing pictures of himself climbing mountains, all that good stuff. So he has bulked up, supposedly, which is good. The other thing that's probably just as quantifiable is he has also evidently spent the offseason working on face-offs, including doing a session or two with former 50.6 career face-off man Joe Thornton, Jumbo Joe. And I was just going through this last year of the Wild centers who could be back here. Joel Eriksson Ek was 47.1%. Ryan Hartman, who could be a wing, 47.8%. Marco Rossi, 46.8%. And then Nico Sturm, who they have now signed back, who comes back here after being on the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. He was a 51% guy last season. He's very good there. So I would say that was probably something that Marco was told, hey, you need to go work on faceoffs. That's something where it feels like the Wild is always questionable. It feels like year after year, they just don't have a lot of quality face-off guys. But all of those things, again, I think become important. Something else, H, that Guerin brought up too, I hadn't given this much thought. Bill Guerin's point was, part of his point about probably the demotion as well, is that Marco Rossi, who played in 82 games for the second consecutive season, had a good first half and then tailed off in the second. So I went and looked this up on Hockey Reference. Sure enough, first 41 games, 15 goals, 37 points, plus 17. And in the first half of the season, he averaged 18 minutes and 50 seconds of ice time. In the second half of the season, so the last 41 games, that dipped to nine goals as opposed to 15, 23 points as opposed to 37, minus 14, and his ice time dipped slightly to 1823 from 1850. And then, of course, in the playoffs, where he did have 2 goals and 3 points in 6 games, the ice time was 1107. So I think what they want, and I get it, is, first of all, better face-off, especially if he's going to be the second guy, right? Yeah. If he's going to be the second-line guy, top 6 guy. Number one, you got to win face-offs. And number two, despite the fact that he was an Iron Man again, they definitely had some issues with the fact that his numbers fell off pretty drastically in the last 41 games.
I'll come to his defense a little bit because I feel like for how much they've dealt with injuries the past 2 seasons, for him to be there the entire time, I think speaks enough to how much work he's putting in off season, taking care of his body. Just like for all the comments about his height, he's a pretty good physical specimen to be out there for 82 straight games of a hockey season, an NHL season, not once, but twice now in a row. He's 23. So I understand probably that taper off, but with 23, I think now moving forward into this year, similar to kind of the cutoff we gave to Matt Boldy, where this is where I'll go on the attack on him. You don't get that excuse anymore if you're just this young kid. You're now into the grown man situation of, I need that consistency. I can't have you blossom like a sprouting garden for the first 40 games like you're talking about. And then the final 40 games, we just can't kind of fade off like Casper the Ghost. We can't go to take your Gustav Nyquist thing. We can't just have you go out there for shifts and then you're back on the ice and then give them a reason to bump you down to the 4th line in the most important part of the season. So there is a little bit of a double-edged sword there. I would like to see, though, because we've seen him the past couple of seasons now, off seasons, I should say. He seems like a workout freak. Like he seems like a guy that loves getting in the gym because it's the Marty St. Louis type thing where smaller guy, he knows he has to kind of work that and just to like earn his spot in this league. But you see these like transformation picks of, okay, 21 to 22, the off season, you can see a noticeable muscle mass. Like he's gaining size. Now 23 to 24, you saw that again. Now maybe it's the conditioning part of things. Now you've already, you've gotten the muscle mass and you can kind of play that bigger role. You play bigger than the 5'10", 5'9" you're listed at. But now conditioning wise, can you play 20 minutes a night 45 games straight, and then still we're not going to back off. You can do it for another 40 games in a row. That's where we need to see if this offseason regimen plus the face-offs is actually going to come into play, because I'm going to defend him until he gives me a reason not to. But I think now that he's turning the page into this, you kind of had this weird bridge deal. You were going to maybe sit out. You've agreed to this. Now we need to see that the results are actually going to come to fruition, and you can be what you believe is a second line, maybe top line center at times.
So as we talked about, it's 3x5. It's actually broken up like this. This season, $4 million, 26, 27, $5 million, and then 27, 28, $6 million. Now, here's what's interesting. He's not yet eligible for a no trade clause. So he does not have a no trade clause. And I saw a comment here from Greg that said there's still rumors about Rossi being traded to the Kraken. Now, I have not seen those, but that's an interesting thing, because you know what? It felt like Billy wanted to trade him, and he took him to market, and he couldn't. Like he just couldn't get. He was getting draft pick offers back, and guys he didn't necessarily want. And it feels like Billy or the Wild even maybe overestimated. Now, demoting him to the fourth line of the playoffs hurt, but that the Wild overestimated his value. And then Rossi got a slap in the face because he didn't get an offer sheet. And Rossi did say, so I was taking down some notes from his press conference today, and he was asked what changed, because our friend Jesse Pierce asked Bill Guerin about like what had changed and why he signed now, and Bill Guerin said you should ask him, not me. And so she did, and he just said, according to Marco, a couple of things did. I talked to my agents, but I can't really say. But part of that was probably no offer sheet. And they probably found out your value is not what we thought. And quite frankly, I thought, I would be curious if they hadn't demoted him and he had a decent playoff in the second line, or heck, the third line. I would have been very curious to see if that would have devalued him as much as he was. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, the Wild wins because Marco Rossi, and the Wild to a certain degree, found out the value wasn't what they initially thought. So that's where this bridge deal becomes interesting. But I do also find it interesting that he remains a tradable commodity, because it doesn't feel like Bill Guerin is completely sold. I know Bill keeps, he now says he's a top 6 guy and he likes him, and I'm sure he does like him. But it doesn't feel like the Wild is nearly as sold, so that like Marco Rossi you couldn't touch if Bill Guerin finds that he wants to make a trade. And the Wild's moves, like if they're good, are probably, dare I say this now, especially with some cap space, going to come at the deadline, which is, probably in early March again, right? Late February again. So just something to keep an eye on is, I don't know that Rossi's 3-year contract means that Rossi's grounded here.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe I just don't know my NHL contract like bylaws and stuff like that, but is because of his age and the term, is he even eligible for a no trade clause to begin with?
He's not.
Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what makes him tradable.
Exactly.
Because
and
we
frankly,
give them out. If you can get one, we'll give you one. Like the entire league's like, hey, just take a no trade clause. But no, because of his predicament, he's not. But that makes him tradable. And I'm not convinced that the Wild would say, Marco Rossi, do not even ask about him.
No, and I wouldn't be surprised. Let's say he starts red hot, like, and maybe the phone does start calling, and something that Bill Guerin offered to, just because we just mentioned him, Seattle a couple months ago around the draft time, it didn't work out. They said, no, we don't like him that much. He's just under a point per game for the first 30 games. So, hey, we like him a lot now. What do you think? You want to make that deal right now? I'm not sure Bill Guerin wouldn't say, yeah, let's just do it. I still am not fully sold, despite us just signing to.
That's probably a deadline trade, though, right? Especially if Yurov plays well, like that's going to change the thing. Because I was going through the centers, Eriksson Ek, stable as can be, Rossi, Yurov, who we don't know, and could be a wing, but he might be a center.
Yeah,
Hartman,
and that's where Jesse and I disagree. I think he will play center. She's adamant he's going to start as a wing.
Well, but what if he plays well at center and then he wins a job there? Hartman could be a wing, but played well at the end of last season. I mean, I don't trust him personally, but let's just play this thing out. And then Nico Sturm might be fourth line, but he's going to play. because they love the fact that he is so good on faceoffs. The point being is, if you get to the deadline and you're good and Rossi is contributing, but he's not contributing a ton, it's just a thought. What does Urban say?
Red hot for Crosby.
Yeah.
Little hot start and then dealt out.
It depends on your point of view. Yes, I would take Sidney Crosby. I still would take Sidney Crosby. Yeah. But I just think that this allows you some leeway here, potentially, depending on how things shake out, that if you're going to talk about, okay, who might the Wild move who would have value at the deadline, and I'm not advocating for this, it's just a thought.
Yeah, and back on Rossi's comments about like what's changed, I'd be interested to see come Mason McTavish's with the Ducks. He never got an offer sheet too, who I could hear an argument for people liking his game more than Rossi, and the fact that he went offer sheetless as well, a young 22-year-old center, I think kind of speaks to just like, I think maybe agents and players sort of got bamboozled too when it came to what they expected in the offseason. Because if you remember going into the draft, how many experts and insiders said, oh, the first round of the draft, if even half the things I'm hearing comes true, it's going to be the craziest night one in NHL draft. Nothing happened. Crickets, dead corpses. Yes. Same thing here. I was told offer sheets were going to happen. There's going to be trades flying all around the summer. What have we seen? Maybe 2 moves for fourth liner swaps? Like, we're not doing anything. Big ol' yawn. So I feel like fans as well, just similar to players and agents now, probably got bamboozled a little bit. So but I'm excited. And all be all, I'm excited to now see what Marco Rossi can bring back. And because of him being a tradable asset, it really does, I would say, I'm glad he's getting paid and it's a bridge deal so he can now set himself up. I think the Wild and Bill Guerin's front office probably win this signing though. If you're going with this, it's a win for Bill Guerin. So the Bill Guerin pitchfork mob can put those back in the shed for a few days at least, because I think he probably came out on the better end of this one.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, this looks like, at least, now they said they paid him a little bit more than they wanted to originally, but on a bridge deal, this is a good contract. And if he's a top 6 guy, it's a steal.
Absolutely.
But then again, we sort of did find out, and I'm a little bit surprised, I guess, that his market wasn't what he thought or what we thought. And so at some point in time, are you going to hold out then? Because, nobody signed you to an offer sheet. Bill Guerin flat out said, if you get signed to an offer sheet, I'll match it. And nobody did. And you're right. I heard a conversation on NHL Sirius satellite radio a couple days ago. Boomer Gordon, who's great, who hosts the Power Play, talked about what a bust this summer has been, how it's just been this, we were all told, we were promised it was going to be crazy and guys were going to. Now, I will admit that I think we all missed one big thing, which is pretty stupid of us. The cap went up.
Yeah.
That meant teams could keep their players. Mm-hmm. I think we all thought, teams are going to be out signing new guys. And teams were like, no, we'll just re-sign our guys. And so, in retrospect, that was a big swing and a miss on my part, because it's like, yeah, of course they stayed put. Like the star players stayed put. But yeah, this summer was supposed to be great fun. And I think this summer is one of the most boring in recent memory, right?
It's got to be.
It feels like there's been something, moves here and there. July 1st. I mean, was July 1st even fun? The draft was a big yawn.
Like Mitch Marner was the biggest signing, I think. But we all knew about that for a week in advance. It kind of...
Yeah, I mean, that was supposed to be like one of many things that flew around, and I felt like we didn't get that in the draft. I mean, the draft night was incredible, and plus the draft coverage was awful. Like, the way it was done was just brutal. It just was terrible. But then that wasn't fun. And then, as Urban says here, and we always appreciate him tuning in or watching us, July 1st sucked. He's exactly right.
Yeah.
And it was just this big nothing. So Marco Rossi, who probably looked at what happened with the 2 Oilers players who went to the Blues and said, I'll get an offer sheet, didn't get an offer sheet. One more thing to get to, but before we get to that, I want to remind you that tomorrow, a very exciting stage show. It's going to be podcast 1, Judd, AJ, and Jesse Pierce of Judd's Hockey Show, Road to the World Junior Championship, and we're going to be on the stage in Dan Patch Park at the State Fair from, let's see here, what do we have? I believe it's 11:45 to 12:35. We are going to be joined by us three yahoos. We're going to be joined by Bob Motzko, Gopher coach, and of course the coach of the U.S. team, who won a gold medal in 2017 coaching the World Junior team. 2018 won a bronze, and multiple-time All-Star and Hockey Hall of Famer and South St. Paul hockey royalty Phil Housley, who actually also won a gold behind the bench with the World Juniors. He will join us as well. So a ton of talk about the World Juniors, a ton of talk about the roster construction, and keep in mind too, the U.S. has won back-to-back. The U.S., which I don't think won its first World Junior title until like 2003. This is year 50 now. And also, if you want to check it out, the World Juniors, December 26, 2025 through January 5th, 2026, two sites, Grand Casino Arena, which still is the I think officially, and 3M at Mariucci as well. What is this tournament? It's the world's best under 20 hockey players and future National Hockey League stars. For instance, the first time Sid the Kid faced off against Ovi was not in the National Hockey League. It was at this tournament. It's that good. What we have as well as a U.S. 4-game mini pack. See all 4 of the U.S.'s preliminary round games. Those will all be at Grand Casino Arena. And then you'll get priority access to the medal round packages so you can secure the best seats when they go on sale. This package only available for a limited amount of time, so lock in for that USA 4-game mini pack now. Go to worldjuniorsmn26.com. That's World Juniors, plural, mn26.com, and join us tomorrow in Dan Patch Park from 11:45 to 12:35, where we will have a chance to sit down with Bob Motzko, Phil Housley, and have plenty of talk about what is a great tournament. Okay, the last thing I got for you is this.
And another quick note really quick before that, just because I saw a couple comments about it.
Yeah, of course.
The other JHS appearance at the State Fair is actually going to be next Wednesday from noon to 1. It'll be both of us with Jesse Pierce out on the Minnesota Rusco deck at the Score North booth, which is right by Dan Patch Park on Chambers Street, right by the grandstand. If you know where Sweet Martha's Cookies is around there, just do a quick circle. You'll see where we're at next Wednesday from noon to 1.
Awesome. Yeah, and we also are working on a special guest for that show as well, so more details to come on that. So the last thing Bill Guerin was asked about, non-Marco Rossi related, was the status of Jonas Brodin. I got a feeling we got a problem here. So we know that working out, I believe, after the World Championships was done, he aggravated something. Anyway, he had surgery for an upper body injury. The reports, so Guerin talked about this in June, and it sounded like Brodin was likely to miss the start of the season. Joe Smith, The Athletic, again, asked Bill Guerin for an update on Brodin's status, and he said, I don't want to go into that right now. Basically said, kick the can down the road, and we will go into it. I hate this because the kid is, he's not a kid, he's a veteran.
Yeah.
But Brodin is such a valuable player, but he's never healthy now. And boy, it didn't sound like it's fine. So I'm sure that they'll talk about this when training camp starts, but buckle up, because I don't think there's any way this guy is playing opening night. And with the way that Bill Guerin talked about it, it sounds like there's a lot of uncertainty here. And look, the blue line's good. It's deep. But Brodin's inability to stay on the ice has become a real issue, AJ.
How deep is it really now after what we've seen? Because if you think about it, on that left side, if you take out Jonas Brodin, you have Jake Middleton, you have Zeev Buium, who I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but they didn't show a lot of trust in him in the playoffs last season. Let's say he comes in and he's middle of the road. He's going to be a rookie, middle of the road.
Sure.
Who else is coming in there? Like, are you throwing in John? No, they don't even have John Merrill anymore.
No.
Who are they bringing up? Like Jack Peart? Another Minnesota guy? Are you bringing in?
Tell me,
Carson Lambos?
You're a prospect guy.
It's probably David.
I'm not a prospect guy.
I think it's probably David Spacek would be the first name. But
so your right-handed shots are Spurgeon, Juracek, Faber. Not obviously, it's Faber, Spurgeon. Juracek.
Yes, this is not in order. You're just grouping them. Yes,
Bogosian's a right-handed shot, and I know we aren't huge fans, but they kept him. But yeah, so basically what we're saying is the right side has depth. The left side now becomes more of a concern.
Yeah, and so And that's big. If you just take out a guy like that,
Good
because
point.
I
stand corrected. You're right.
It's not like it's a third line guy who's going to be missing. And I bet you, based on that, like we're not seeing him before Thanksgiving. Like that, if you had anything positive to say, you would have at least said something and be like, yeah, we're kind of waiting, blah blah blah, but we'll have more updates here soon. If you just cast it aside, I get it's a Marco Rossi press conference, Zoom call type thing,
right?
But if you had good news, you're going to put some stuff to bed. You put nothing to bed. The kids are out in the living room playing with Legos.
No, it's worse now.
Yeah,
it's worse because you're basically
the Legos are
saying,
on fire.
Hey, well, and I'm seeing comments here that Carson Lambos is the guy that they're talking about the most. There's the obvious comment from Caden there. We appreciate this. That, again, from The Athletic, Michael Russo has talked about this. But nonetheless, Brodin, when he's healthy, and that's a big win, is a effective player. I know he's not sexy, but he's a very reliable player. And his loss puts you behind the 8 ball a bit, which is unfortunate because if he's healthy, he's what? He's the left-handed guy with Faber. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want, right?
Yeah. Cause I mean, if
and they play off each other very well because Brock, so
if they're not doing the Middleton Brock thing, which we saw at the beginning of last season, and granted, I think you'd probably go Brodin with Brock. That makes the most sense because if Armand works out well, you're going to have exactly. But and now,
well, and Spurgeon's honestly, a question mark too.
Yeah, and now this opens up what we want, which is the stability of Zibuiam with Jared Spurgeon, because you're going to probably want to put Middleton up top with Brock Faber. So
I've gotten myself tied up in knots though now because I'm thinking about this Brodin. I mean, Spurgeon's old and he's been around forever.
Yeah, you said kid at the top of this topic, and he's 32.
Brodin. No, I then said I shouldn't say that. He's a veteran. But then I'm thinking about it. I mean, Spurge, look at that. I went and looked at Spurgeon's pro hockey or hockey reference page. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like he's been around forever now. And he's also, he's been banged up at times too. So, you know what? I talked about depth. Rewind that, erase it. I'm completely wrong. But anyway, that's the update there. Yeah. The most important thing outside of what this show is about today, which is the Rossi contract, is Kaprizov. Nothing on that. I will panic if we get to training camp and it's become a problem. Until then, because McDavid's not done. And we talked about this in the spring. Go back and look at the contracts that have gotten done like this. Draisaitl got done like right before camp or right before the season. So these things often extend in. Now, if we get to opening night and it's not done, we can talk. If there becomes an obvious, hey, I just want to sort of play this out, we can talk. But until then, I love to panic, but I feel like this one's not worth panicking until we know more.
I'm not panicked at all. I mean, to my knowledge, he isn't back in the States yet. And I feel like, and granted, we saw Marco Rossi. He's still in Switzerland right now, so it's going to be.
He's coming home, or he's coming back home. He's coming back here at the beginning of September. He said.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not too concerned about that. I bet you that's you're also not going to try to do a deal, and then for a guy of Kirill Kaprizov's tier, he's your franchise player. Right. That's not a deal that you're going to have him do. PR wise.
Oh, sure.
As a video, hey guys, I'm staying.
No, but
tweet.
But when Guerin talked about, or when the report came out that, hey, we all said that they were really close and now they're not close, which I think was Russo, that's what got my antenna up. Because things would start to leak out. Conversely, the other side is if it was just so close, because that's what we all assumed. Mm-hmm. And then we were told, hey, it's not nearly as close as we thought. So yeah, it's not the press conference announcement I'm concerned about. It's the reality of, one, what does Kaprizov think about what this team is doing? Yeah. And two, are we getting any inkling that they are close? And instead we got, they're probably not as close as we thought, which is, I mean, you're just, as Craig said, you're going to have to write the check. And Leopold also talked about the fact that the contract's going to have to be what Kaprizov wants as far as money goes, as far as how it's structured. The Rossi contract, again, shows that the Wild likes to draw lines in the sand on contracts. Well, that sand is going to go like this when it comes to Kaprizov because he's calling the shots. You ain't calling the shots.
I just still feel I just don't feel panicked at all because, I mean, up until earlier this week, because it's Friday. If you would ask me on Tuesday, where do you think Marco Rossi and the Wild are? I would have said, I bet you they're further apart than probably where Kaprizov and Guerin is now.
Right.
But then in a matter of 48 hours, it went from, hey, they're getting close. Hey, it's probably going to get done tomorrow. Hey, it got done tomorrow. So we really don't know. And granted, it's very different situations. You have a certified superstar who's looking to cash in versus a guy that the team necessarily isn't sold on, who wants to still be playing hockey that didn't get offer sheet. So it's different, but I'm still just not panicked. I'm with you. Closer to opening night, then we can push the panic button.
Right. Well, in the case of Rossi, I think what he found out was the Wild had all of the leverage on him. In the case of Kaprizov, it's the same thing. It's just flipped.
That's exactly right.
He has all of the leverage on the Wild. So if the Wild starts to negotiate and haggle, guess what? Ain't going to work. So in both cases, somebody has control, which is often the case in contract negotiations. In the case of Rossi, it was the team. In the case of Kaprizov, it's going to be the player, agent, and all of that good stuff. Okay, well, hey, live show. Appreciate all of you that joined us live. If you are watching this after the fact, we just decided that it would be smart to jump on because we've been talking about Rossi all spring and summer, and that contract is now done. Training camp nears in September. And don't forget, again, if you are watching this before Saturday, Judd's Hockey Show, Road to the World Junior Championships, Bob Motzko, Phil Housley, Dan Patch Park on the stage, 11:45 to 12:35. Join Jesse Pierce, AJ Fredrickson, and yours truly, and we will have a great time talking hockey. And fittingly, it's supposed to be chilly out, so it's perfect because it'll be hockey weather at least for one day. We will see you later on Judd's Hockey Show.